honestly, there's about 10 seconds left. But it's a great way. That's a great way to experience that psalm, I think, because we know how it goes, don't we? We know the words, and we know how it goes. It goes either to Crimond, or that version by Schubert. If you're a singer, you might know that version by Schubert, or any of those other versions. That's the only one. There's hundreds of the ones that are just the only one, by the way. Anybody a fan of the Arrogant Worms? Seriously, I asked this question at Red Deer Presbytery the other day, and every single hand went up. The Arrogant Worms they're Canadian icons. They've been around for about 25 years. Yes, they are called the Arrogant Worms. It's three guys, and they write songs and they're very funny, they're very entertaining, but they write songs that are absolutely Canadian. They're either about Canada, or they're about things that are important to Canadians. And they're also, you might know Canada's Really Big. That's one of the songs. Me Like Hockey, that's another one. There's a great song about how eating vegetables is murder, by the way. Please find that one, because it's really important that you know that. And you must have heard The Last Saskatchewan Pirate. Really? Okay, you all have to find the Arrogant Worms. They were just in Alex recently, actually, doing a fundraiser for the Alex Library as part of their first farewell tour. Just kind of their sense of humor. But you do, because their songs are awesome. They're really great. They have a song called We Are the Beaver, which I really like. It's We Are the Beaver. And it goes something like, it starts out saying, Americans have the bald eagle, and Russia has the bear. Australians have the kangaroo, because they're weird down there. That's not me, that's in the song. India has a tiger. Canada has the beaver. We are the beaver. We are the beaver, we are the beaver. That's the chorus, we are the beaver. We are the beaver. Yeah. So you hear this song and you think to yourself, I always think to myself, okay, I can totally see, like if you're not from one of those other countries, you can totally see why they would like that animal to be representative of them, right? I mean, you can really see it. Bald eagle, for instance, it's a great, majestic, and noble bird that soars high above in the sky, free in the sky, and is also a vicious predator that picks on animals much smaller than itself. Absolutely American. Absolutely. And you look at those, and but if you're not American, you might look at that and you go, hey, that's a great symbol. If you're not from India, you might go, ooh, tiger, that's a cool one. But if you're not from Canada, you might go, a what? A what? It's a rodent? It's a large, funny-looking rodent with a big tail? Really? Okay. That's great. So it's not ferocious, it's not cuddly. You have to know some history. You need to know stuff. You need to know stuff about, if you're from Canada, you might know the history of why the beaver is important, other than the fact that there's so many of them. But you need to know that. Or you need to hear the song, because they actually tell you why the beaver is the most important of all of those animals. It's because despite what you might get from those other animals, only the beaver gives a damn. Right? Now, tell me that's not Canadian. I mean, the sense of humor alone, tell me that's not Canadian. It totally is. But you wouldn't know that if you weren't from here. I love the 23rd Psalm, I really do, but I'm not a shepherd. My relationship with sheep extends to either wool or something on a plate. I don't know that. And I'm not the only one. I know, because we talked about it the other day in a Bible study, and I asked people about this psalm and why it was meaningful to them. And everyone said things like, it's comforting. They really love the idea of the green pastures and the still waters, and it's nice to know that God is with us even when things are like that, but also in the darkest valley. And by the way, we say valley of the shadow of death. In fact, that's usually how you probably know that line, because it's from the King James Version. of it. And don't even try saying, lack nothing instead of I shall not want. Because we know it as, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. We know the King James Version of it, which is not entirely accurate, it turns out. But that's neither here nor there. It's how we know it. We know the shepherd part because we connect this psalm with stories of Jesus being the good shepherd in the Gospels, right? We even have a Sunday. On the fourth Sunday after Easter, we'll be talking about shepherds and sheep a lot. I even have a little wind-up sheet that I'm going to use with the children's thing because it's Good Shepherd Sunday. It has its own Sunday. Raise your hand if you're a shepherd. That was a trick question. You're all shepherds, but I'll come to that in a second. The point is, that's not an image that is readily something that we get a hold of. We don't really know. But in the first century or earlier, if you were a follower of Jesus, or even back to when this psalm would have been first heard, it was written by somebody for whom the image of a shepherd was not only understood, it was intimately understood. You knew that a shepherd was the greatest example, the greatest description of what it was like to be a king, to be a great leader. Because that's what shepherds do. It was all about taking care of the sheep. It's all 24/7. You are always there. And now, of course, when we talk about sheep and shepherds on Good Shepherd Sunday, we go to great lengths to explain to you how it was the crummiest job ever. And you were always out there with the sheep. You were, dirty, smelly. People didn't like you. People didn't talk to you. There was vicious wild animals, all that stuff. Whatever. The point is that the Good Shepherd is a great example of being a leader. And you knew that. Now, not so much. So just running through my head some world leaders right now who would definitely not be shepherds. Might be the other end, actually. But still, we don't recognize that image. In fact, if you ask people why this psalm is important to them, they'll start saying what I just did. Green pastures, the valley of shadow, my cup overflows. All of the descriptions of things, not necessarily that first line. But we know that first line because we know the song. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. That's how we know it. I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to make fun. It's just that's how we know it. And that's quite often where we stop. We know it. What's a shepherd to you? That's my question today because, see, today, I know I just said that we're going to hear this psalm again on the fourth Sunday of Easter because it's Good Shepherd Sunday. So why would we need it today? Well, on the lectionary today, there's a couple of other stories, it turns out. And they're the stories about how, the one is from Samuel, the story of how God chooses David to be king. And the other is the story of Jesus healing the blind man, who then is questioned by the Pharisees because, Jesus not so popular with the Pharisees. And the man says, I don't really know who this guy is. I just know that I can see now. And then he meets Jesus again, and he realizes who Jesus is. He knows. In the story of Samuel anointing David as the king, I don't know if you know this story, but David was not the obvious choice, let's put it that way. God told Samuel to go to the house of Jesse. Anybody? Think Christmas. Where is Jesus born? In Bethlehem, because he is from the house of David. So Samuel goes to Bethlehem to see Jesse, because one of his sons will be the king. And the first son comes out, and Samuel goes, oh, that must be the one. Nope, says God. Okay, bring out number 2. No. Goes through 6 sons. It's all no. And Samuel goes, do you have any more? Surely you must have more children. Well, there's David, but he's out with the sheep. Well, bring him in. He brings in David, and I can see, I like to picture how these things happen in the Bible. David walks in, and Samuel goes, "It's him! That's the one! I know it! That's the one. I know it." Somehow you know it. If you left off the first half verse of Psalm 23 and just had the rest of that description, how would you know God? Would you start, "The Lord is my shepherd"? What image would be yours? Because that's the point, is that the person who first thought these words, thought this song, knew God with that image. Not just, that'd be pretty cool, I like that, but I know God with that image. How do you know God? What image would you give to God? And I don't mean about the thing about, remember when God was a really old guy with a long white beard and white robe who sat on a throne sitting on a cloud? I hope not, because I hope that was long before any of our time, that we stopped thinking that way. But what image then is God? How do you see God? When you're going downstairs in a little bit, in the stairwell, as you go down, you'll see, please don't look too closely because they are stairs after all. You need to watch where you're going. But you'll see something we did a few years ago that we called the Face of Jesus project, where we asked people to bring in a picture of what they thought Jesus looked like. And it could be a person, or it could be a more traditional understanding of Jesus. But it needs to be how Jesus speaks to you. And some of them they're all really cool. Some of them are more traditional than others. One of them's a bus that says Jesus Saves on the front of it, because it's a guy who drives this bus around. It's like a little minibus, and he drives it around in this city in the U.S., and he takes food and clothing to people who live on the street. That's Jesus. Right? Another's a picture of Martin Luther King. And actually, if you look really closely, you'll see pictures of people you know, because there are some pictures of people from our congregation on that wall. How do you see Jesus? Well, how do you see God? If you hear this, if you were singing this psalm, if it was you writing this psalm today, how would you start? I asked people the other day, how would they see a shepherd today? And there were lots of really good examples of, somebody actually did start out with farmer, because I think what they were trying to say was, this is as close as I can get to the shepherd thing. Wait a minute, actually feeds people, connected to the earth, part of creation, part of the cycle of creation, and suddenly that like little farmer turned into a big thing, and people started to go, oh yeah, I can see that. School teachers, especially kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2 teachers, because they're not just about you must learn this because it's in a book. They're about learning how to be people. Well, all teachers are, aren't they? I want to say that when I asked the question, my first thought was ministers. It wasn't. It wasn't. Actually, my first thought was school teachers. And not just because their job is learning, but because their job is about helping to create people, helping make little people into persons. Do you know what I mean? I'm saying that so appallingly badly. Some school teacher could help me out right now, please, with better language. But that's what. Wait a minute, ministers do that too. Maybe I should go to ministers now. But how often do we say things like, we are all ministers? Don't we? Parents. There are many. The point, though, is what one speaks to you in the truest way. Because I think that's what the person who wrote this song was thinking. I need to understand and trust that God is always with me, supporting me, caring for me, loving me, protecting me. I need to know that God is with me, whether I'm happy and comfortable or whether I'm sad and afraid. Wherever I am in life, God is with me. What is the image that just immediately springs from my heart to my mind? What is it? Oh, it's a shepherd. What is it for you? If it is a shepherd, good on you, yay. But it might be something else. It might be a person. It might be an actual person, or it might be a role. But think about this psalm today. I tell you right now, on the fourth Sunday after Easter, I will probably be telling you about sheep and shepherds, absolutely. But today, just for a moment, take those very familiar words, that very popular psalm. Because I know we like to sometimes think there are certain parts of the Bible or certain phrases or certain things in the Bible that people remember more than anything else. But I'll bet it's the 23rd Psalm that people know. Not just people who go to church, but people who don't go to church. In fact, people who've never been to church or opened a Bible before are likely to know, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Right? It's the words that the pastor is saying at the opening of your favorite Western when they're putting a guy in the ground. Right? It's in, if there's, you're reading a book and there's a story about somebody actually going to a church, that's the words you'll hear. That's what's going to be there. So you might actually understand your connection to church being what church is all about, being through the 23rd Psalm. That is so not a bad thing, really, is it? But if only we wanted to know more. Sadly, I think, for me, and I mean this in the best possible way, the last, I can't even think how many, celebrations of life that I've been a part of, families have either asked for the 23rd Psalm, or if they could not think of anything and I suggested it, immediately went, "Oh, yeah, that one, that'd be good." Because in that moment, they are words of comfort. And that is truly a wonderful thing. But it's about life, the psalm. It's not just about the shadow, the valley of shadow. It's about life. In fact, it's about all of the things that we do. That's why I liked the video of the 23rd Psalm that we just watched. One of the things I like about that is it's a travel log. Really, it points out to you as you go through the psalm that the psalm is a journey itself, which our life is. So that wherever we are on the journey, God is with us in life. And then it ends with, "I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." We come home. But the psalm's about life. I wish we knew Psalm 23 because it might be something that comes to our mind every day. Or something like it. Because it's about life. It's about the presence of God in our lives at all times, no matter what's happening. What's that image for you? Even read the 23rd Psalm again and think about the images that are in it. And see if something doesn't spring to your mind. It might be a shepherd. It might be a farmer. It could be a school teacher. It could be your favorite minister. Maybe. It could be anything. But whatever it is, let it be something that touches your heart, not just your mind. I can think through that shepherd thing because somebody told me. In fact, the odds are that somebody who told you is the church for a couple of thousand years. Has told you why that shepherd image is important. But just for a minute, let go of that and just imagine something new. Imagine something that touches your heart about why God would be there, how God would be there, who God would be there.